In this episode, Golden and I discuss The Umbrella Academy Season 3, Full Speed Ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power. The Omega Beam.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 186. I'm your host, Oren Merton. So it has been up on Netflix for a while now, but Golden and I just finished watching Season 3 of The Umbrella Academy. And that means we have a few things to say about it. We start spoiler-free and then get into spoilers, so you know the drill by now. And let's go. I am here with Golden to talk about Umbrella Academy Season 3, the most recent season of Umbrella Academy to be streaming on Netflix. So this is a show where we've enjoyed both seasons. Neither of us had any familiarity with the comic. In Season 1, I enjoyed the plot more than the characters. In Season 2, where they were kind of trapped in time, I really enjoyed both the plot and how the characters interacted with their times. Season 3, what do you think?
They keep giving us something different, and that's nice.
It's definitely a new show every season. Keeps it fresh.
And I think that it was nice to see Luther kind of step into his own, because even though he's powerful, I don't think he's ever really had his own voice.
Right.
He's always been the puppet of Father. Mm-hmm. And it was really nice to see Luther develop through this season.
Yeah.
All the characters are very enjoyable. You even have the characters that are the other family.
Right. Season 2 ends, this is, I guess, a spoiler for the end of Season 2, but Season 2 ends with them in an alternate present in which the Umbrella Academy is suddenly replaced by the Sparrow Academy, and they meet the people who are doing what they were doing, but in this new alternate time.
And they're doing it so much better.
Right, and that's where Season 3 picks up.
They seem to be less dysfunctional than the Umbrella Academy that we know.
Right. And I'd have to say, from my perspective, I really liked the plot, but the thing about this particular family of characters is they're more than dysfunctional. Some of them are like so lost in their own damage that that's really all they're good for, is spouting their own damage. And I thought it worked in Season 2, not quite as well in Season 3. But again, I still found the plot like absolutely fascinating. Just where it was going and what they were doing with it. They've created this amazing sort of mythology and world building that's just really interesting to see how it all plays into each other.
Okay.
So if we're going into spoilers, 3, 2, 1,
it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah. I specifically didn't like, I forgot the name of the character, Rumor.
Allison.
Allison, yeah.
Yeah, Allison took a turn for the worse, I think, in terms of she got really lost.
Yeah, just kind of really, really one-note character. I don't think she added much.
Well, part of that was, she had, in the past, this wonderful life. But she still wanted to get back to her daughter. And moving forward in time did not accomplish what she thought it was going to accomplish. She's actually further away from her daughter now than she was in the past. And that trauma is just debilitating to her, in a way.
Yeah, to the point that she really wasn't contributing anything positive to the rest. And that's where I kind of wasn't so interested in her anymore, because other characters also had their traumas, and they also were trying to deal with things. But at a certain point, they sort of said, okay, well, I guess we have to do this if we're going to move forward. But she didn't care. She'd betray anybody. She'd do anything. She'd say anything. And it was just, I think they just wanted to have a character in that position. And so they made it her. I thought the Sparrows, other than Ben and the one that Luther fell for, were just so one-note, mustache-twirling villains. It was not that. They weren't very interesting as characters. Admittedly, one was a floating cube, and you can't really get super emotional about a floating cube. But like I said, I wasn't as interested in the characters this time. But the plot still is interesting, and they've got one more season to go, and it will be interesting to see. They end with everybody from the Umbrella Academy around, but powerless. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. It seems like Allison is probably going to be pretty happy because she's got what she wanted. She got her daughter. She got her husband from the past. She's good to go. But what about the others?
Or is that really what they got?
Yeah.
What is it that they actually have? Because some of them will appreciate not having their powers, but yet you have Tom Hopper's character, Luther, being able to be normal, I think is something that he's really going to appreciate. But Klaus was finding out just how much he could do.
Right.
And he was having a ball with, okay. I mean, the one scene where he realizes that everything is ending. And he kills himself to escape that ending.
Right.
Because if he's in that zone, then he can bring himself back in the other.
Yeah, like I said, really interesting plot twist. And Klaus, I mean, as a character, I thought was really good. I thought it was really nice how they dealt with Elliot Page. As an actor, Elliot Page obviously has changed quite a bit since the previous
And they
season.
didn't ignore it. They decided to acknowledge
and they just
it.
incorporated it into the show, which I thought was really... So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things about the show, and I don't think its ratings are all that high. And I can see why, because it's kind of out there and an acquired taste. But it is good, and for those who've been enjoying it, I think season 3 brings more to the table.
And I really enjoy Lila. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy her character.
Yeah.
Ritu Arya's character. Mm-hmm. I love her battling a lot with number 5, who still just doesn't have a name. And then also her relationship with Diego.
Right. Her relationship with Diego is great, and I thought, some of the character interactions I loved the most were her and Diego.
She borrows a kid to try and see what kind of dad he'd be and whether or not he'd turn his back. Because she's waiting for him to turn his back on her.
Right.
To abandon her. And he doesn't do it.
Right. It turns out he's actually a pretty decent individual, even under all the damage. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff, cool world building. This is definitely one of the more out there shows. And I never read the comic it was based on by Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, which is back together again as a group. But I know that it got incredible amounts of praise when he was writing the comic. And I can see why. I mean, this is just one of those out there books. And it's turned into an out there TV show, which has been definitely watchable. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll hear one of my students talk about it and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't expect that that's the audience that it's actually appealing to.
And
it seems to appeal to a very broad audience.
Small but broad. Well, hey, maybe that bodes well for season 4 getting a fair amount of viewership.
I like how they brought the past back into this with one character that Allison her character is just completely broken. She doesn't know which way to turn, which way to go, what to do, what to say, and it's just not the Allison that we know from previous seasons.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where it goes in season 4. Well, thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/186. If you liked this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your reviews help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. The Omega Beam. Full stop.